Hello, my beautifully twisted people. How are you doing? It's your girl, Helia, Firefly, and we'd like to welcome you to our weekly podcast. This week we've got, of course, little Miss Lacey.
Hi.
We got Miss Sapphire, Lady Sapphire. And this week with us, we have our resident Dom. That's sitting here staring at me like, we've got Twisted's resident Dom. It's our Shere Khan.
Good evening. Welcome in, and welcome in.
We would like to welcome you guys to our podcast this week. Bear with us. We are live for the first time and we are loving it. So we are kind of swinging it here, see what we got. We were waiting on Mr. Mark. He hasn't been able to join us yet, but he may pop in. So we're going to go ahead and get started so we won't be on here for a year. This week we're talking about vetting. It's something that we had said a couple times that we were going to start talking about, and when we start talking about, the basics of what it is that we do. And so this week we want to dedicate the whole podcast to talking about vetting. And Mr. Shere here is one to totally advocate vetting within our group, and he is the proponent of telling us about this wonderful book that I've read it. It's a really good book. It's listed. I think he's got it on our Discord and everything else. But the name of the book is
62 Qs.
62 Qs, 62 questions for your dominant. So guys, I guess where we need to start is I've heard a lot of people say, well, why do I need to vet? What is vetting anyway? I've literally had people tell me, like, when, you know how I do when I do events or whatever, and I let people join the group. I say, okay, we have to be vetted first. I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what is vetting? So what would you tell the audience that vetting is? I got all these people, so I'm not doing a lot of talking tonight.
Vetting,
right?
Vetting is basically almost like doing a criminal background check, kind of. You want to get to know the person, the people that the person knows, or if it's somebody who says they've been in the community for a while, people that the person has actually been around or been with. You want to try to get as much information as you can because of the new fad, because of 50 Shades of Grey. Thank you. We are now mainstream. Now everybody wants to be in BDSM, and everybody wants to call themselves a dominant or a sir or a master or whatever you want to call them. But no one actually, some of these people have not actually done the work to get to where they are. They just stepped into the role. And they're using it to try to prey on people who really don't know any better. So this is one of the reasons why we ask people to. So if a dominant comes on the scene and he immediately says, you have to refer to me as sir. If you ask this dominant, so is there someone that you used to be with that I can talk to? And they have absolutely no references, red flag. Because anybody that's asked me, is there someone who I can talk to that you've been with, been in a dynamic with, or that knows you personally, I can run off a whole list of people. But if they go, no, not really, it's also. Did I answer your question? Or did I ramble off a little bit?
I rambled off a little bit.
I rambled off a little bit. But I still answered the question.
Oh, yeah. So we'll get back to some of that you just said. Because if you went, you didn't open the door. So little Lacey, what is vetting to you?
Well, vetting is a way to avoid any future consequences, getting to know someone before you have to, just jump into it.
Lady Sapphire, you want to add anything? Hey, Mark.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm late to the party. I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. HypnoticDawg himself. He has joined us.
Yeah, and I'm taking off clothes.
All right, we are talking about vetting this week. We were just getting into just basically what vetting is to us. I think Lady Sapphire is getting ready to add something.
Yeah, so that is the idea of making sure that the other person is authentic in what they say that they can do. Because basically, between the partner, if a partnership is formed, you are literally trusting each other with your life.
Right.
So, like anything else in life, you want to make sure that the person is who they say they are, they can do what they say they can do, and vice versa. So literally, you're putting your lives in each other's hands. So therefore, vetting is essential. It should be done all the time.
All right. So
It's never ending.
absolutely, it's never ending. Because I think that's one thing we always talk about within the podcast. We evolve, our partners evolve. So, to me, your vetting process is going to evolve as you grow, with that person. So that's the importance of vetting, because you really need to know who it is you're dealing with. Do you guys feel that there's a difference in the way you vet, per se, if you're vetting somebody for a potential dynamic versus the way you vet them for maybe just a scene, top bottom situation?
Should be the same across the board.
You
In
think
my
it's-
opinion, it should be the same. And vetting, I like what you guys said. It's an ongoing process. Like you said, you're letting someone into your space, you're letting them into your life, and you're letting them into one of the most sacred places you can be, their mind. So much of what we do in this lifestyle is mental. When you let somebody upstairs, the person that brought me into the lifestyle, she said to me, because when you first get introduced, everybody think it's heavy sex. But, what she said to me was profound. She says, what I'm offering you and what I'm offering to show you is even better than sex. The sex is almost like a secondary treat. So if you are going to let someone into, that much of a space, intimate space in terms of your mind, you've got to know what's up, and you've got to really, really take your time. I'm in a long distance relationship with my girlfriend. We vetted each other for about 1.5 years before we even met. That's how you got to go through certain situations and certain things before you can really let go and enjoy what this lifestyle is. So it should be a slow process. Now, it can be a fun process, and you got to know when to have those tough conversations. And you have to always be evaluating, self-evaluation, and evaluating them. So, when you vet just for a scene, vetting should have already taken place before you even consider doing a scene with them, in my opinion.
Let me ask you a question there. So what if you're at an event and it's just someone that you y'all do know I play devil advocate, right? So
Yeah.
okay. So if it's somebody that you're just meeting at an event, you're not able to vet prior. Now I
Okay.
do understand that you do go through that vetting process, short version, when when you're
Ask all the questions.
when you're so my thing with that is, would your vetting process still be the same? Would your questions still be the same? Being that this is something that's temporary.
These questions should be asked, and plus, you should watch and observe how they move and interact with other people.
So
Let that play part.
at events, when people ask me how long have I been doing whatever it is that I'm doing, and they're interested in doing a scene with me, they ask me, well, what are your negotiations? Now it's like, I'd rather for you to come watch what I do
Exactly.
first
Yes.
before we even get there. Watch what I do. Come watch what I do. If this is something you're interested in, then we can take this next step and sitting down and seeing how I can provide this service for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I always do that because I don't want somebody to just be like, oh, I want to do fireplay with you, and you've never seen me do fireplay.
Exactly.
You've never seen me do impact play. You've never seen me do knife play. You've never seen me do humiliation, mummification, none of that stuff. And you want to say, I want to do all the things on the list, but you've never seen me do it. I'd rather for you to come watch me do it first. That's my way of getting people to see what I can do. So when they come to me, we can answer those questions. That's my short version of vetting when we're at events.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you walk into a barbershop. For me, when I walk into a barbershop the first time, I'm looking to see, okay, who looks like they're in charge, who I'm going to watch them cut 2 or 3 people here, and then from there I'm going to make my decision. So yes, I agree with you 100%. Observe. You got to watch. You got to see how they move with other people, and don't just jump into the fire.
So in essence, then your vetting process is the same, but maybe your line of questioning is a bit different.
Yeah, we're going for cliff notes as opposed to the whole story.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So at events, I'd like for my skills to speak for my vetting.
Absolutely. I'm the same way with hypnosis.
You know, come see me do my thing, and then, hey, if you're interested, then we can sit down and we can go through the rest of the thing. Then my questions are primarily going to be the same. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever done anything like this before? You know what I'm saying? And if so, who with? Then from there on, so forth, so forth, so forth. It's pretty much primarily the same. I try to keep it the same across the board. But now, if we are interested in dating each other, that's a little bit something.
That's what that's kind of what I was getting at, because a lot
more different because you're going to ask more questions. You're going to ask more questions. If I'm just going to do a short abridged scene with you at an event, I don't need to ask you, tell me about your last 5 partners, because I don't care.
Right.
I don't care about your last 5 partners because we're at an event. You know what I'm saying? So I give you the short abridged version when we're doing pickup play.
So that's what I was getting at. There are some questions that we will probably touch on tonight that are more geared to a dynamic versus what you would use to vet if you were in a situation where you were just
someone wants to sing with you,
where you were just trying to sing with someone.
Right.
I was also going to say, when it comes down to an actual event, more times than any, there are others that are there who have interacted with, the person that they may want to, do the scene with. So, of course, if they don't right there ask that question to you, they're going to see who is out and around that has actually done a scene with you and say, hey, how was it? So you'll get recommendations from just the public that is there as well. So, when we want information, we always find a way to get that information.
Yes, yes.
So, with this wonderful book, I enjoyed it. I really did. And I've gone through. I've highlighted stuff that I kind of put at the forefront when I talk to people about something. Because I think it's a matter of, and y'all can chime in. I think it's a matter of sometimes we don't ask the right things, or I've heard some people just say, I don't know what to ask. And one thing I've learned through this book, that there are some things that you should not ask because they're dumb questions. And it says, what's a stupid question? And we've always learned there's no stupid questions. But this book is like, okay, there are some things that, you just can kind of be off left with. And I think that's more like open-ended questions. I think when it comes to vetting, it has to be very specific. Or, what we say, it has to be intentional. Like the hard questions like I do, I love it. Because, I think the one thing, I know when you were saying about when you ask your questions, where do who can you refer me to? Was it you or was it someone else I was talking to? And they said, well, what happens when per se takes someone like me or you, or I don't know how long Mark has been in the lifestyle, but someone has been in for decades, and maybe the people that brought you in are no longer around.
Right.
And if you're like me, I was with the same dominant for 20 some years. I wouldn't be one of these people where you would be like, okay, well, how many dominants have you been with? Which one of them can I talk to? I wouldn't tell you to go talk to him anyway. but I've been with the same dominant for 20 years. So, I guess we have in those situations, you have to, how do you things like that? If you really, you want to know where a person comes from or who can reference them, but what happens when you have situations like that where, okay, the people I was with are gone, and I've had someone else tell me that too. They was like, so, I know we dig in, but how do you get around that? If there's really nobody that I wouldn't say could vouch for them, but maybe haven't known them as long as maybe the people they're around now. Without, and I say that with this, how do you get around that and can be sure that it's just not somebody saying, oh, I've been around such and such, 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 and they really haven't. You know what I'm saying? So I can use the excuse, oh, well, they're gone, but it might be using that excuse just because I haven't been around,
Yeah.
or or I got a name and there's nobody that you can talk to about me.
If you've been around for as long as, say, I have, you know what I'm saying? Someone is still around currently, new, not old, that can vouch for you if you do the things that we have been advocating for education, doing demos. You know what I'm saying? Going to the events, going to cons and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't associate with most of the people there, someone there can vouch for you. You know what I'm saying? Someone there can vouch for you. Yes, I saw this person do such and such and such at such and such and such. But that's all I can do. Because that's basically what I do. When someone asks me about a specific person, I tell them exactly what I know, not what I assume.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How long has this person been around? Well, I only known this person for this amount of time. So I can tell you about our interactions when I met. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or her.
Also, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Also, you have to be the detective. You ask them questions that, based on what they've said in terms of their experience and what they know, they should know this. If they don't know that, then that's a big red flag. They should know, based on their experience, they should know certain things. And if they don't, that's a red flag right there. No, okay, we're gonna ease off of doing this with you. So you know,
for that.
it's a combination of detective work and your own intuition. You know, and for a newbie, that's the hardest thing to develop in this lifestyle, the intuition.
I have a perfect example for that. Recently, everybody should know about FetLife. Recently, I made a post on the FetLife. I was in a certain mood, and I posted that I was looking for a pain slut. Someone hit me up in my inbox and said that they were interested in being said pain slut. So I started asking these questions. How long have you been in a lifestyle? I've been in a lifestyle for 8 years. Okay. What was your last relationship with your dom like? But, you know, it was pretty good, but, you know, all he used me for was sex. Okay, so did he give you any material to read to help you, you know, on your journey or anything? No. And I was like, oh, okay. I would like for my bottom, because this is specifically what I was looking for, because I said a pain slut. I like for my bottom to have a little bit of experience in some of the stuff that I plan on doing to them. And she asked me, what's a bottom?
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And I said, you've been in a lifestyle for 8 years and you don't know what a bottom is? That's a very long time not to know the difference.
That's that red flag. That's that red flag.
So I sent an article describing what a top, a bottom, a dominant, a submissive, all that was. She blocked.
So I no longer feel bad when I bet and I ask a dom what type of dom he is and he can't tell me.
Red flag.
Red flag.
I don't feel bad anymore because that's the big thing with me. That's if you don't know the roles, period, and you say you've been in this any amount of time, I'm looking at you sideways anyway.
But that's like basic information,
Yeah.
Especially a new person coming in. If you give them the right material, they should know automatically what the difference between a top and a dominant is. What the difference between a submissive and a bottom. You know what I'm saying?
It's just like we said, you have these people that have kind of fluctuated the community without knowledge, you know, because they read certain
and watched the movie.
books. Yeah. And so it's like, oh,
so
you know, so
a synopsis of 50 Shades of Grey on the last.
No, I didn't.
See, you missed it. We tore that all to pieces. We did. So you missed
we
it.
dissected it.
Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, that we went through that one. So we already didn't have the discussion. 50 Shades was not it was not it when it comes to what this is.
And what it is that we do most of, I want to say 95% of the people, when you say 50 Shades of Grey, they all make that face. They all make that face.
Yeah.
All right. So
I think the secretary was more accurate.
Absolutely.
Okay, put that on the list. Put that up. See, so Lacey said
I'm writing it down.
Please watch that movie. Oh my gosh.
Way more accurate.
Okay,
It's
we can
going
write
on my
that
list.
world here, but no. But Lacey said that we should do the story of O, which to me
I just feel like it's something that should be watched. I really do.
But you know, a lot of people when they bring you in, when they bring you in, introduce you to BDSM, that's one of the movies they always say, "Oh, watch the story of O." But the story of O to me was more like an orgy movie to me.
I feel like
You've
it
not
was.
seen the story of
I
O?
feel like it functions as more
And
of a
he has not seen the
cautionary
story of
tale.
O.
No. Was this like a series or is it a movie?
No,
No,
it's
it's
an
it's
old
a
It's an
movie.
old movie.
Never
Yeah,
seen it.
it's also a book, but I feel like it functions more as a cautionary tale for beginners, honestly,
yeah, yeah,
Oh, so now
because it ends horribly.
yeah.
I bet you it does. It
It's
it
a it's
it,
horrible.
it
That's why
probably
people say the
just
O-ring
like
comes
everything
to
else
them.
when we tell people to vet and they don't. It probably ended that same exact way.
Yeah.
I think the
Like in the
first
movie, she doesn't get the option of vetting. She kind of just is
she was playing
taken
into
there,
it.
dropped off.
Well, into it.
Yeah, yeah. So when we ask our questions, the best way is I'm going by the book here. Trying to stay on track. So it's saying open-ended questions. It's important to ask open-ended questions. Questions where a person cannot just say yes or no. So I see that being very important because I can say yes, no, and that's it. If I ask you an open-ended question, that's going to make you have to elaborate. So like, okay, do you anything? What's a yes or no, no question? Do you
Do you like flogging?
do you like yes?
Yes. Okay. To what extent? What's your pain?
See, and then that makes you have to right.
Yeah. What type of material have you used on something?
Or are you submissive? Yes.
What type of submission?
I could, but I could one word that though, because I just might be one type. I might just be a Sam.
But you answered the question. I mean, you still answered the question. So if you say you're a Sam, okay, you answered the question.
What makes you a Sam? That's what I would do. I would just start digging.
Yeah. What
That's
makes you?
me. So it's saying the open-minded questions is one that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. The reason behind that rule of thumb is simple. A poser will always have a difficult time providing knowledgeable and coherent information. That's what we were saying. So the deeper the question, they're going to have a problem. If they don't know, they're going to have a problem answering it. So therefore, you're going to start throwing flags because, okay, he doesn't know. She doesn't know what this is.
I don't understand how hard it is if you don't know the answer to a question that they're asking you. If you haven't had that specific experience, why can't you just say, I can't answer that question because I don't have that experience?
I'm saying, go ahead.
I've had that happen to me before. I've asked someone like an open-ended question, and instead of them saying they don't know, they automatically get defensive, or they say something like, well, this type of dominant doesn't exist. And that's a red flag for me.
Getting defensive is the first red flag. Because asking someone a simple question should not make them go into defense mode automatically.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Like he was saying, he doesn't understand why they wouldn't just say, okay, I think someone that has experience and is truly what they say they are would do that. Okay, that's not my kink, or that's not something that I'm skilled in,
Right.
Versus somebody that doesn't know. Exactly. They're going to get mad, or they're going to try to wing it, and it's like,
yes. Ooh, I almost caught it.
That's why I told him it's age sensitive, so he's all right. But that's why I stress so much that we, on the submissive side, any side of slash, I think it's really important to know the roles and, know what each role entails. Not word for word, but at least have some ideas. So when you are in your vetting process, you know what that person, if they say, oh, well, he can say, I'm a sadist. But if you have no idea what a sadist is, okay, that's good. And then it might turn out, okay, you don't want to say this.
Yeah.
If you don't know, then you have no idea. You're agreeing, okay, yeah, and you're just betting along, and you have no idea. And then it turns out that this is something that you don't even want. So you went through the whole process, or you've agreed to a dynamic or whatever, and then when it comes to really finding out what this person is into, you're like, I didn't know that. Like he told you,
Did you ask?
Right.
Didn't, so
Yeah.
Right.
One thing.
This is definitely not the community where you want to wing it.
No.
Right.
This is the community where literally education is power, and education will save your life.
Yeah,
but
So,
safety.
you know,
The more
definitely.
you know, the more you know, you be aware.
Correct. Correct. That's why I would tell anybody, where I am right now is I'll tell anybody I am still learning.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to vet or look for someone until I know that I am comfortable enough to say I'm ready to, start looking for a partner or start doing things.
Well,
But you have some people who they're just like, oh, well, this is what I am because I already feel it inside of me. Like I've always been this. Okay, you feel that inside of you, but have you done the educational part?
Mm.
Have you done the practicing? I'm sorry, you're not going to do fire on somebody and it's your first time and you don't know what to use for that fire play
Mm.
or knife play. You don't want to cut up somebody back
yeah,
and you've never done knife play before.
yeah.
But again, there are some people who feel that they can do it all. Like I've seen it on YouTube, so I can do it. Okay.
Yeah.
We see you on the news for some type of
assault.
assault. Don't say,
Right.
It is an evolutionary process. When I started out in the field, like most men, oh, I'm a dom, I'm a dom, I'm a dom, I'm a dom, I'm a dom. No. As I learned myself and grew within the community, I am a sensualist with heavy dom tendencies. So it's about knowing yourself. And we, as the more seasoned individuals, we must always remember to, at some point, when that newbie comes up to you and you know they're a newbie, you have to put yourself back in their shoes for a moment and be that open vessel of knowledge, because that's what will keep the community healthy. And that's what will eventually, I look like this every time we are educating ourselves and we're educating the people around us, we're leaving less room for predators.
yeah.
We're leaving less room for those individuals who don't have good intentions, who are not into just the physical aspect, but the mental connection that can be so beautiful in this lifestyle.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely.
Now, have we all made mistakes? Yes, in the beginning we're going to make them, but
Oh, yeah.
you always hope that the mistake that you made does not do irreparable damage to an individual.
I was about to say that is the part of the journey that makes you an individual. Is you
Mhm.
make a mistake and you learn from it. You don't keep going back making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? That's the insanity.
Mhm.
It's not going to be a different outcome. You're going to still keep getting what you're putting in. If you're not doing the work yourself and you keep making up the same mistakes,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why we stress, you know? I mean, again, your vetting is gonna, like we said, evolve with you.
right?
So,
You're gonna come up with certain situations. I know where you were trying to go with the difference between vetting somebody for a long distance or a short version of vetting somebody for pick up play or something like that. It's all going to look different, but it's all going to be what information do you need from that person at that moment for y'all to be able to do the scene during pickup play.
right.
And versus a long distance relationship, or not a long distance, a long term relationship where you are actually interested in being in a dynamic with this person, rather it be sexual or not sexual. You know what I'm saying? Because you can be a service submissive and we never even think about sex is not even on the table. Sex won't even negotiate it in the beginning of having this conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's when most people get most of what we do screwed up, because they think just because you're a service submissive that you're supposed to offer sex. If we've never talked about it, not really.
And always, and I think that's what we were talking about when we were doing the roles. I think it was me and Lacey. I don't care. Any submissive should have a bit of service submission in them. I don't liken it to sex though. I liken it to
Acts that, outside
when I think service submission, I think acts. I think of to your dominant or like
just
myself.
think of it as a way of taking care of someone.
Right. And I've always looked at it that way. And I say all submissive should have some type of service in them, simply because you can be in any type of situation. If you have your dominant, of course you're going to serve that dominant. I think going left here, but I'm an advocate for taking care of your dominant. And a lot of times submissives don't do that. And, oh, I'm not a service submissive. Okay, but in reality, that dominant serves you all the time. So, in return, I think that submissive should serve and take care of that dominant. If you don't have a dominant, still, I mean, you can be anywhere in the community at an event or anything like that. What's the harm in if that dominant does not have some? What's the harm in, sir? Do you need a drink of water or something like that? If you see that they need something or they don't have anyone with them, it's just them solo. I think that's to me where service comes in. I don't know. I just don't liken it to. I don't liken it to sex because me. Sex to me, it comes with the whole dynamics.
Yeah, but yes.
What's the but?
Because if that person feels as though that sex is their service, there is nothing that we can say to tell that person that is not a service that they can provide for somebody.
Well, isn't there a role specifically for that?
I mean, it's several roles, but it also is also up to that individual. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be. You have to have that conversation, though.
Of course.
You still have to have that. You just can't assume. Okay, so since you are a service submissive, sex should be in your repertoire. You know what I'm saying? Because most service submissive, it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The ones that are will tell you right out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm a slut.
There you go.
You can slut me out. You know what I'm saying? And then you negotiate from there. Lacey, why are you smiling?
Because you're not. See, I'm sure I've seen one of these numbers.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to say.
You got to remember, the submissive itself, he or she derives pleasure from
Providing something.
serving his or her dom. So the pleasure, we're taking sex out. The pleasure or the gratification comes in doing something for their dom.
Right.
So that is the gratification, the fact that you are doing something for that individual. Now, like you said, it can't be sex. It can be as simple as doing an act for them that they know they need, or you know that they need. So again, because of shows and movies like 50 Shades, it's skewed. Another movie that you guys should watch, and it gets to the way the mind works and the mental aspects of this, is Boxing Helena. Boxing Helena.
Boxing Helen?
Helena.
You taking notes, Lacey?
Yep.
Thank you.
She ain't taking.
I can give you guys the notes of it. It's an awesome mental story. It's amazing. But it speaks to the links that people can connect. And so that's what a lot of this lifestyle is about. It's about the links and the layers that you create with an individual. Even in short-term play or even in scening, there are levels that are created within that scene that take you both to that place where you're both getting something out of it.
Like, I've been to events where people say, I don't do pickup play. But they'll scene with someone that they've known for 6-7 months, maybe. They're going to have a scene with them. That's primarily still considered pickup play.
Yeah. And
that's true.
like with one of my kinks, which is EH, it doesn't lend itself to long-term play partners. But
Right.
once people know what I do and they see me do what I do, I do have a bit of a following that's like, oh, and not tonight, but you catch me next party and I got you.
Right.
Can you take over? Well, yeah.
You were doing the same thing?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, we're just talking about follow-up questions.
So,
The book is really good for beginners, a refresher for people who've been in a lifestyle for a while, who have been in situations where they forgot certain questions to ask. And it ended up being that one thing that made the situation not viable for either the dominant or the submissive anymore. So like earlier, someone said that vetting processes evolve. Yes. So you can have a certain set of questions that you ask in the beginning because you want to know the background of this person, right? Then you get to know this person a little bit more. Those first set of questions are going to go out the window, and you're going to have a new set of questions. Okay, we have been together for a year and a half, and I don't know anything about your family, especially if you didn't ask that in the first set. You know what I'm saying? Do you have kids? Where do you see yourself going?
Time out. But hold on. A year and a half, you don't know what this person has kids.
Most definitely. It never came up in the conversation.
Well, would that not be one of your major
Never
questions?
came up in the conversation. Never came up in the conversation.
Okay, so then my list is a whole lot different then because
Everybody's list is going to be different. There's no standard way of doing it.
But I would think that would be like one of the pertinent questions though, because if you're looking to be in a dynamic with someone, don't you
I
need to
asked,
know?
if I asked someone, what is your availability to me? And they was like, I'm available to you 24/7. That basically tells me that you don't have any kids.
Right.
Right?
Right.
There's no need for me to say, do you have any kids?
Okay, so, but if a person has children, they wouldn't say that. So if a person says, well, I'm only available Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and you ask them, well, why is that? Really?
Yep. I knew them for a whole year and 3 months. Never knew they had kids. Never knew they had kids.
Lord, okay.
Never knew
Wow.
they had kids.
Because that was one thing I was going to ask. Because, you know, in the book it does say, you know, in your vetting process, introducing that person to your friends. Have them around so you can get, like, other opinions of that person. I'm going to say introducing a family. I think it's so weird, though. How could you?
Well, everybody close to me is family anyway.
Yeah, I get that.
Not blood family, but you know.
Yeah, but I'm like, how can you say 24/7? And was she that person available 24/7?
That person was available 24/7.
So she had older kids. Okay, I'm going somewhere else, y'all. Never mind. I'm just perplexed at how you would not tell or how I think that's like really that's one of my questions because I know how I am. I like my time when I want my time. Okay, say what you want to say. But then you got something to say.
I think I'm confused about the 24/7 portion because, like, does this person have no life?
Well,
Like,
you know, people
no
do
job?
live 24/7. I always have a thing with that 24/7 thing because I don't think this is something that you turn off and on. So to me, I think when I say I live this 24/7 because this is who I am. Am I in a dynamic? Even when I was in a dynamic 24/7, yeah, because it's who I am. Was I always with that person? No, but my dynamic was always with me. So I
There
don't
you
understand.
go. There
Yeah.
you go.
So, you know, I don't understand where the I don't live this 24/7 comes from. Unless you're just someone who I don't know, is this like recreation or
That's actually
They're
a question.
aficionado.
And
Is this your hobby?
that
Like,
is that is one of the questions that you should be asking. Are you looking for something that is time to time, or are you looking for something more 24/7?
right.
You know what I'm saying? Every time and 24/7 are completely different.
Right.
'cause
Right.
I'm demanding, so I need to know these things.
Yes. And I get but I think that's the way everyone should be though.
Yeah.
You know what you and that again comes back to what I say before you even get to this part where you're even thinking about vetting anybody. You need to know yourself. You need to know what you need and what you want. Because because if you don't, you can't go vet somebody or have somebody vet you because if you're even thinking about a dynamic, you don't even know what you want. And that's one of my biggest questions when I vet, why do you want a dynamic? Where do you see your dynamic going? You know, what's the purpose of your yeah. Because if you tell me that, then what are we doing? You know,
One thing that I find interesting, you see all these guys running around, oh madama, 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 madama. Well, there's certain aspects of your life that are not together. So how can you lead me? How can you guide me if you don't got your stuff together? Now,
check mark. Yes.
no one can have their stuff together 100%, but you've got to be able to lead me and show me more than where I am right now. And if you
Right.
can't show that person more than where they are right now,
Absolutely.
I guess within the idea of your vetting process, the biggest question you should ask is how often, like you said, how often are you looking? If we're in a dynamic, how
Mhm.
often will our contact, how often will we get together? And if that person doesn't match up to what you're looking for,
Let it go.
let it go
Yeah.
and go on find somewhere else. One of the questions I came up with when I was doing my research, which was funny because since we're on this topic, one of the questions that they said you want to ask in some sort of form is, are you comfortable with infrequent contact? So if they say, no, I'm not, but
Mhm.
you know that your schedule and your life, hey, I'm not always going to be there for you, then you know that that person is not going to match up with you. And you keep it moving.
Yep.
Is that serious enough for you to say, you're not my person?
Yeah, it still has to be something that you are able to even try to negotiate because it's still negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I am not available to you 24/7, and I'm only available to you in the middle of the day because of my job. And in the afternoons, I got to help my kids with homework or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Is that something that you're willing to work with? Can you work with me on that? I may not be available 24/7, but if you send me a text, the first break that I get, I'll respond back to you.
You
Understandable.
know,
Right. That's understandable.
Like, I don't want to, be with somebody who like, I'm available as often as you need, and then I text them and they'll be like, it'll be like 6 to 8 hours before they get back to me. No.
Well, see, to me, that's a red flag. And I've had people, I've heard, and I've had this conversation, and I've actually heard someone say that that's like when you're in a dynamic, when you're a dominant, it's coming from that point. It's kind of like neglect,
It
It
is.
feels
you
like
know,
it.
and it's like, okay, how long does it take you to send a text?
yeah.
What, 2 minutes, 2 seconds, two
It's
minutes?
like, why is this not a priority on your list?
Right. And my thing is, if that's
And
the case,
that is very situational.
Yeah.
That's very situational. That's very, 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 very.
well, I mean, okay.
But for instance, right? Okay, I used to work at this company who did not allow you to have your cell phone on you while you were at work, and we worked 12-hour shifts. So if you
Mm.
and I 7 p to 7 a. So if you text me anytime after 7 p.m., I could not respond back to you until I went on my lunch break or when I got home the next morning.
See,
Okay.
that's
I understand.
understandable though, because I
You know,
feel like you would tell your
again, I said that's
person.
also situational. So if I tell you, hey, I work this job, I can't have my phone, but I'm gonna respond back to you as soon as I can. But you said if I send them a text message and they don't answer me in 6 to 8 hours, then it's a
Yeah,
red
but
flag.
like,
It's
I feel like
Yeah,
situational.
we used to have
that's one
situations.
problem that we used to have when we first met, and she was going through all of her stuff right there. Because then I was doing flight net. So if I'm in the air, or if I'm at an accident, I can't, and you send me a text message, I can't respond to you.
Right.
Yeah,
Being the little that she is,
I
that
need
was
a
not
team.
a thing. So again, that comes with your vetting too. You have to be able to explain to this person, okay, these are my needs because this is what I am.
Mhm.
That's why I tell people, know who you are. You're a little, so you know you have this. Okay, if I don't hear from you in 6 hours, then I'm mad. Or, that's when I don't want you anymore. You go in
Yeah.
your little crap mode. So those things like that, when you know those things about yourself, you have to communicate those things. And I always say, don't make a choice for somebody else. Let that person decide. Okay, is this something I can deal with, or is this something that I can kind of manipulate to, like he said, negotiate? Okay, there might be something that I can do where I can check it and I can check in on it, versus just saying, nope, I can't do that. Or I don't want that person because they can't. So I mean, you all red flags. I don't think you have to cancel out. Be open to negotiating and a true negotiation about it, and see if something can be worked out. Because because see,
I
she's
don't
just stuff.
think
I know that one, and I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people like her. Okay, nope, this is what I want.
I
You
don't think
know,
it's necessarily a problem, but it becomes a problem when you tell me when we're vetting that you have this time
Exactly.
span that you're available. And then you don't, you can communicate with me and tell me that you're not available. But if you don't do that and I'm sitting here wondering where you are, that's a problem.
Yeah, because she's a word warrior. So people like her, they go in a panic. Okay, I haven't heard from her. What's wrong? Or what's going on?
I had a person, we perfectly vetted, checked all my boxes. Everything was going good. Then out of nowhere, it was 12 hours between text spans, that sort of thing. Like, no, it's a no. And it's one thing if we can compromise on it and you can tell me if something's going on. But if it's a consistent thing, that's a problem.
There you have
A question. After you've done your vetting process, do you formulate a contract with your person?
After you what? I'm sorry?
After you've gone through your vetting process, and this person, you and this person, like you have negotiated, you have, you think we're a good match. Do you put together a contract that both of you have to sign on?
Okay,
I think it depends on the dominant.
it does.
Requires a contract, or if he doesn't require a contract.
Say-
I didn't have one. My 20, I really think it depends on that dominant and whatever they agree on.
Yeah,
I only ask because I'm not familiar within the PLC community.
Yeah.
But I have heard it's pretty familiar and be
Yes.
practiced.
Okay, but
Other
also, I can tell you the cultural difference is when we love as Black folk and people of color, we love with heavy, thick emotion.
Oh, thank you.
So there is typically, when it's done right, a bond that develops to where you should be able to talk through most things. You should be able to work things out. Most of what happens, and I hate to use the word white, but most of what happens in those other communities, everything is cut and dry. It's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's that. But you know what? Because of where we are and our cultural history, shit happens to us, and we got to work through. So there's more of an emotional. There's more of an emotional tie. There's more of an emotional commitment. When we love and when we love hard and when we care hard. And so there is less of there's less of a need for the formality of it all, because it's like this. You'll hear good Black men or men say, okay, look, I'm going to take care of my child. We don't need to go through the courts. I'm going to do what I got to do. And when I'm going to do what I got to do, I'm going to provide for my child because this is what I do. Culturally speaking, that formality, I'm done with you and I'm leaving you, Josh. And that's that. It's cut and dry. But there's if you go through our culture, there's a number of people, and my situation is entangled. I don't need that formality. If I give you my word and say I'm gonna do something, damn it, I'm gonna do it. So, I can understand for those that need that contract, but when I've vetted you and I've let you into my life emotionally, the worst thing in the world I can do is have you be disappointed in me. The worst thing that I can do is have you lose faith in me. So I'm gonna break my neck. Everything I say to you, I'm gonna do my darndest to have it come true. And if it don't, before it hits the fan, I'm gonna tell you, babe, I couldn't get this done. So I apologize, because I'll never call myself sorry. I apologize, and let's work through this. Culturally, yeah, you're right. You don't see that much in the PLC community. But if someone wanted it and that's how they felt comfortable, okay, let's negotiate this thing and let's make this comfortable for both of us. Because even if I write it in paper, it's written in stone. But in my mind, if I say it, it's written in blood.
Right.
It's
Lacey, you wanted to say something?
necessarily trust anyone, but I do feel more comfortable having something down on paper that we can refer back to, so that nobody can say I didn't say this was my boundary. Nobody can say that I wanted this when I said I wanted that. I like it out on paper so it could be seen and heard, and it is said there. It's there.
And that's valid, and that's very valid.
Now, I want to ask you a question. Is that because when you came in, the way you came in, and who you were involved with when you came in?
That's exactly why. That's for me. It's a, like I said, I will say it's not that I distrust anyone. It's a treat everyone with suspicion until you prove me otherwise.
Correct.
See,
It's
she
kind of like a security blanket for you.
from the other side. So, like we were saying, they're very contract, worksheets, this and that and the third. She was used to the whole, writing, journaling, and see, these are things that we don't. I came in, but I came in with visual color. But these were things
I
that
came
I was
quite
taught, journaling and things like that. These are things that we on. The more I get into educating, and through the years, I'm like, y'all don't journal, y'all don't. I mean, nothing. And I'm like, these are things that we did when I was taught to do this stuff. And again, she came in from the other side, dealing with our counterparts, and that's what she was. And I was like, oh God, okay, so you know about contracts, you know about your journaling and things of that nature, and she did. So things like that were more comfortable for her because that was
because
the way it was taught. And I
honestly, when
think
you're a person of color interacting with our counterparts and you don't have a contract, you're more liable to end up as someone's exotic pet.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, you will be fetishized. Yes, yes, yes. I had totally yes.
But D, to answer your question, is the having a contract. It's if you feel that you should have one, you should have one. Again, like Lacey said, you want to have a starting reference to how what we negotiated in before, and was there anything added in between that wasn't on the first original contract? Right. So we can't say, well, we never talked about this, but you
Right.
did a lot of this. You know what I'm saying? You can be like, wait a minute, hold on. We did talk about that. It's on the contract.
Honestly, from a legal standpoint, I would advise you to have a contract because if
But
something does go south, you have that record and it's signed.
caveat,
That
mm-mm,
nope.
it's
That
not legal.
contract is
It's
no,
not legal and
it
binding.
is not an
It is
illegal
if you
impound.
get notarized.
It's a reference. It should be. It's a reference. It can only be used as a reference.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So if you get this notarized,
Still not legal.
It still won't be legal.
seriously?
Not binding.
It's not binding.
Not in court. It's not.
What we do in society, as what we do, a lot of stuff that we do is very illegal in
Illegal.
all 50
Yeah.
states.
That's what I was about to
Yeah.
say.
So that's why that contract would not be,
For
you
me,
can't use it in
like
the
I
court of
said,
law.
It's
it
just
was still,
it's for a personal reference, a
for
personal
me, it
view.
was used, and it was used from a police standpoint for me because
Well,
I
that was
actually have police involved. So it had to be used for a police even if it's not something that will hold up in court, it's something nice to have on hand.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we didn't say you shouldn't have a record.
mm-hmm.
You still should have a record because again, it's hey, we agreed to do these things, but this person started doing these things that weren't on the initial information sheet. You see what I'm saying? So in your situation, you needed a record. That's exactly what it is. It's just a record of I agreed to this, but I ended up getting this.
So long story short, it can be used as
A record.
proof that okay, because what you were going through, abuse or whatever, your situation was, hey, this is what was going on. It can be used because at that point, legally, like we said, what we do is basically illegal.
Mhm.
So therefore, it can be used to say, hey, this is proof of what was going on. But say you were leaving, how you were that person can't take that contract and say, okay, judge, nope, she can't leave me because we had this contract here. She said she was gonna be my slave or she was gonna be my submissive. She can't go anywhere. It's not binding in that way. It can be
Okay.
used as a like you said, in a situation where you had to call the police for whatever reason and look, this is what's going on. So in that retrospect, yes. But to hold somebody accountable for anything, per
Like,
se, as she's supposed to be here with me, she can't go anywhere. Yeah,
no, it's just, something nice to have on hand just in
right.
case.
Right.
because
And to me, I think contracts are, like you said, always good anyway, because
you can always
like
redo.
want to have a point of reference. If you tell me this is what we're doing, I want it on paper. So when it goes left and you say, well, you're supposed to be doing it, that is what we had here. Or when,
Especially when you have limits.
yes,
From the soft to hard, they are good to
yes,
have record of.
yes,
And it's
yes.
not like a contract is something you can't redo. You can always add to it and redo it.
Absolutely. I think
always-
they always can.
you should always
negotiate them. Yeah.
you should always put a time frame on said contracts. For short term, I normally do 90 days. 90 days, and we'll reevaluate and we'll check off some things to see if you have improved your needs or what you're lacking on. And then we can either add on to that same 90-day contract or revamp it all together and say, okay, well, you did a really good job with all of this. Now let's move on to something a little bit more. What would you like to get? But again, it's a whole bunch of negotiation, more of what you were doing in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? To answer your question, yes, you should most definitely have some form of contract with said person that you plan on being in a DNS relationship with.
I don't think it takes away from your emotional bond or anything. I just feel like
Absolutely.
No, it's
Security. Yeah.
always going to be a CYA. Always.
No.
Because as a dominant, if I decide to a submissive, and then this said submissive can go back and say, well, he did this to me and I did never give him my consent, I have proof that she did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Instead of it being my word against hers, it's in writing with her signature on the bottom.
So, with that being said, we skip to contract. So, we'll get back to specific questions, but once you do your vetting and all that stuff, you get to a point where where we're saying, okay, do we do a contract? Do we not do a contract? How do you guys feel? Do you think that there should be like what's the word I'm looking for? A trial period before you actually go into that dynamic?
That's the reason why I could give them a 90-day. You can put any kind of time limit on that said contract. You can do it. Okay, let's do this.
So you do a contract, and that's your
revamp it in 30 days. Let's come back and let's look at it again in the next 30 days.
So you go ahead and go into a contract with a person versus having a trial period and then deciding, okay, this is cool. We can do. My earring don't want to stay in, so we're gonna let it stay out. So where was that? Okay.
Trial period. No.
So your trial period is
it's a contract. It's a contract.
See, I was taught it's a pre-contract if you want to do a trial period, then a contract if you're into a serious dynamic.
So basically, even from the very beginning, you should still have something on paper.
Put something on paper.
You should have, and the reason being is because you still have to have that starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Something you can refer back to. Did I check off all these boxes that we talked about? Yes. Did you check off all the boxes that we talked about? Well, kind of, we kind of never got into this last line yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And let's talk about why or whatever situation may happen. And then decide if you want to continue or move to the next step and do it for a longer period of time.
My question is for your contracts, do you have those tiny print clauses?
No. Nope.
Escape clauses.
Nope. Always give. It's not a tiny print. It's big letters on the right hand side. Yeah, the right hand side of the contract. You know what I'm saying? You're entering in this contract, but you always have the power to withdraw at any time. Well, by saying, I currently wish to withdraw from my contract. Okay. And that's your safety net. I put that in there because I don't want a person to stick around because they feel like they have to.
Right.
For the remainder of the contract. No.
There is this drama. Like I said, I know you all are older.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this drama on TikTok because there's a lot of things on TikTok that involve kink.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been this drama involving contracts. And there was this creator, I won't mention any names, but he was basically essentially having girls sign contracts, but there was fine print that they did not read.
Mm-hmm.
And it became to the point where it was obvious he was not a dominant, but it became to the point where he would refer back to that contract and say, you did not read this fine print. You cannot object to this.
Yeah.
Well, if I see fine print, I'm not signing it anyway. Because I mean, there should be nothing that you have to have down in little spaces that
And secrecy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing all that.
If we get to that stage of we want to move in that direction, I sit down and I go over every single word, whether it be in the corner, on the back, written in invisible ink, all of it. So the person can understand that you have just as much power as I have entering into this contract. So at any time, I can be like, you know what? I'm no longer interested. I withdraw. Just like you should be able to have the same power to say, you know what? I'm no longer interested. I withdraw. And don't feel like you have to stay with that person until the end of the contract.
And also, too,
For a moment.
no, don't feel either, too, because I've had this come up where I've had submissives tell me stories where it's like, okay, well, I was in this such and such. We had a contract or whatnot, but things were going on, and it was stuff or just simple stuff. I couldn't go and say anything about it, or I had to do such and such because that was in the contract. I don't think there should be any time that you feel as a submissive that you can't go to your dominant in the proper manner and ask to maybe readdress things on said contract. I know it's in place, the things that we agree to, but sometimes, some things can't be helped. It could be a health situation that goes on, and you have to change up something that you do. I don't think there should ever be a time when we as submissives feel that we cannot, go to our dominant and readdress things that need to be readdressed sometimes. Because, okay, you say, well, we've got a 90-day contract. What if something happens to me and I can't wait that 90 days? I honestly don't feel that I should have to wait 90 days if something detrimental, or maybe it's something that might have been a yellow. And when we were talking about a soft limit, and then I'm thinking it's a soft limit for me, but then it turns out to be a hard limit because you just might be over the top, just simple things like that. A lot of submissives feel like when they are in contract, that when they have these things with people, when they do it this way, we can't renegotiate until said time.
No, that is where when she brought up the thing about the fine print, and I said that you should be able to withdraw at any time, making that particular contract null and void.
So if I just want to make a change, that makes the whole contract null and void?
Withdraw from that entire contract. Because
why though?
You're saying, okay, sir, we need to sit down, we need to sit down and reevaluate this, and I would like to withdraw from this particular contract so we can reevaluate it. You know what I'm saying? Because after that 90 days is when we're supposed to reevaluate. But any time in between in that 90 days, you can take that power back. I don't want. So this is what I'm saying. You shouldn't have to feel like that they have to wait until that 90 days to pull their power back.
So process-wise, you're saying that you pull that whole contract and then renegotiate, and you just can't tweak that.
No.
Why can it be so hard?
No.
Why can we just can't tweak that one thing?
No.
It's a safety thing, honestly.
No.
Why is that thing? Hold on. So if it was like one thing, say if I said, okay, I love Dragon Tales, which I do. Well, okay, I decided, I'm one of these people, I don't really like Dragon Tales, but I was open to it in the beginning when it was on the list of implements. Can I use? Are you okay with such and such, such? And I say, yeah, I'm okay with Dragon Tales, but then, and it might have been a soft limit. I'm okay. I haven't really done it, but we can try it. So I got to negotiate my whole contract because when you try it, I realized that it's something that I want to change to a hard limit.
Hold on for a second.
I'm going to veer off and get personal with this because this is a very personal thing for me. Mm-hmm. When I came into this lifestyle, like you said, I was into, I was full contracts, full journaling, all that. Mm-hmm. And when I wanted to make a small adjustment to my contract, the woman that I was under decided that she would tweak my contract without me knowing.
Mm.
And so she added exit clauses that I, as a newbie, felt like I had to adhere to. And that landed me in the hospital for a week.
Right.
So cutting out the whole contract and starting a new one together is for your safety. So you can make sure that they're not tweaking your contract without you knowing.
There should be no amendments or changes to that very original contract without your acknowledgement that you understand what you're assigning yourself up to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
That's why I said
not doing it.
it should always be I would like to withdraw from this contract at any point without having to wait such an amount of time to do so. It should always be an exit clause. Always, regardless.
I feel like newbies honestly need to know that they're, even with the contract, like you said, they're capable of leaving.
Yes.
Because I did not know that I was capable of leaving, because at that point, it had been almost a year.
Right. And that's where that came from when I was saying, well, it didn't come from you particularly, but when I was saying that submissive needs to know that they do have the power to say, hey, can we make some changes? Okay.
Like,
so this is nothing that's cookie cutter. So, okay.
Definitely.
This good folks, I'm gonna leave y'all to continue on with what you're doing. I got a meeting I gotta get into, so
Okay.
I will chit chat with y'all. Nice seeing everybody. Y'all
Good
keep
thing you
me.
too.
So I get that part what you guys were saying. The way I was taught, I wasn't taught about an exit. Just to tweak things. That's simply because it was always, if there was something even on the dominance part or my part that we felt that needed to be adjusted, we were able to sit down and have that conversation and adjust it together.
But that's what worked for you, though.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So when I asked the question, right. That's what I'm saying. When I asked the question and it was like, okay, well, no, that makes that whole contract null and void. That's what I'm saying. Nothing is cookie cutter, because I know some people that, is
They
just,
couldn't sit down and renegotiate.
right.
When I was speaking of how I do it.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Because of the whole fallback of, okay, if you sit down and you negotiate these things and now you feel like, okay, I'm stuck in this for however many months or years and I can't get out of it. You know what I'm saying?
There's always,
That's why I make sure that they understand at any moment that you are unhappy, unsatisfied, tell me you withdraw and the whole contract is null and void.
that part I get. That's because I was asking just for like one small thing.
Whatever it's small or not.
Really?
Yes.
You have the whole contract.
You would have to do the whole thing over again.
That's fine.
Honestly, like I said,
But
I
that's
feel
how
that
I
that
do
way.
it. And that's how that's how I do it, because you know what I'm saying? I want to CYA. You know what I'm saying? I have to CYA.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll continue that conversation later, because I want to know what. Never mind. We'll talk about it.
You want to know what CYA is?
No, I want to know, because if it's something tiny, how's that not covering your butt if you're sitting there and both of you are sitting there and you're reevaluating, renegotiating, and then maybe just that one clause. You're not changing anything but that one clause. So how's that not covering your butt?
You gotta. I want the.
I mean, you're gonna reprint a new
I want the whole
contract.
thing redone. I just want it redone. I want the whole thing redone.
So that one you're talking about just reprinting a contract with that change.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
I just want it done. I want it done. I want that very.
I get that part, but you said like just scratch the whole thing.
Scratch the whole original contract. Add your
Just
amendment.
reprint.
Add your amendment or whatever it is, and then start afresh.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't do just doing an amendment and be like, okay, this said contract is still the same thing as it was before. No, it's not.
Okay.
Because you change something. Rather it be small or minute, it changes. You made a change to it. You know what I'm saying?
Look at the Constitution. We make amendments to the Constitution.
But the amendments they make to the Constitution is for their benefit, not for the benefit of the actual freaking people.
What's the difference? Okay.
It's not the same difference. We're gonna move on. Yeah, anyway, look at Lacey. Lacey, like,
This is what we do. She wants to laugh so bad.
It's okay if you want to laugh. Go ahead and laugh.
So should we go into real quick some specific questions?
Well, we were going through most of them anyway.
We weren't really specific.
They were specific. Some of them were anyway.
Some of them.
Some of them were very specific. And they don't necessarily have to be in said order, but you want to know if that person is currently in a relationship or intimately involved with anyone else other than you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
You also want to know that person, if that person knows their status. What do I mean?
Their help starters. I want the paper.
Yeah, show me proof. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody should be, well, nowadays, you know what I'm saying? I can pull up my
chart
and show you exactly when was the last time I had my test done. You know what I'm saying? So forth and so forth. But it's really a question. Let's go back to the book that we were referring to. You know what I'm saying? The very first question that person asked was, why are you interested in it? Right? This is kind of, if I, the dominant, am pursuing a submissive, they can ask me that question. But if the submissive is pursuing me, you know what I'm saying, and I don't really know about you, you can't really ask me why am I interested in you. I don't know anything about you.
So is there a properness to that? Is a submissive supposed to pursue a dominant?
If they're interested. But again, why? Why are you interested in that dominant? It's something that you sat back and observed, how he treats people, how he carries himself, his demeanor, his skill set, that sparked your interest to want to go and approach that dominant. Right? Right.
Gotcha.
But in that same sense, that very first question that's in his book is, why are you interested in it? It would be the other way around. Why are you interested in me being your dog? But, anyway, moving on to the next. The next question we had a huge debate about this not too long ago. A huge one. How would you like to be addressed?
Okay.
I'm just going to put my caveat about
Wait,
that.
No, we ain't. How would you like to be addressed?
Let me
get up and walk away while you say this?
Oh, no. Go ahead, Mr. Mark. Go ahead.
Yeah.
For the people that I have taken under my wing somewhat, Daddy was the ultimate pride. So you may not start by calling me Daddy. It is sir. Daddy is something that has to be earned. Now, once we have evolved to the Daddy stage, or we're close to it, if you have a problem with Daddy, then I will allow you to pick a name. If it's agreeable for me, that's what you can call me in lieu of that.
You don't have anything to say on that? Added?
Gosh, she is the
as a non-little person, that is a very personable question, because a lot of littles take offense if you call them little one or princess or anything other than what their name is without their permission. They take that to offense.
Exactly, because why are you calling me that? You didn't earn that. That's not yours. Like,
Right.
I didn't give you
And
that.
vice versa. This is a conversation we had the other day.
This is the reason why I said, in a common situation, take BDSM out of it. In a common situation, if you walk up to somebody and you do not know what their profession or whatever it is, and you need to ask them a question or something, and you hit them with a sir, ma'am, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I guess it's like regional too, because this is the South. I'm going to call you sir or ma'am because it's polite here.
Manners. Correct.
Yeah.
Goes back to manners. And you
And
do
it's
that
the
until
tone.
the person corrects you. Please don't call me, or please don't call me ma'am. I prefer for you to call me and then wait for them to tell you whatever it is that they prefer to call.
Well, if I know your name, I'm going to call you like Mr. Dan or something like that,
Right. Right.
I'm not going to.
Until they correct you and say, please don't call me Mr. You can call me Michael or Dan or
I'll call you by your name or something like that. I'm not going to. It's also in the tone you use it in, because I'm not going to go up to somebody, somebody's daddy or master and
Okay,
call
hold on. Because that's where it comes in. This is where the flip side of it comes in. Because what he is referring to everyday
Just
society.
every situation.
When that table is turned and you are in the BDSM community, those handles take a whole different meaning.
Yeah.
So how you sir and saying ma'am, calling her little or this and that, they take a whole different meaning. So so for me to just walk up to somebody and say that I do not know, somebody could say he's a dom. Okay, but I don't know him. I know nothing of his reputation. I know nothing about that person. I'm not just gonna walk up, hey, hello, sir, how are you? I will walk up, be respectful. Hello, how are you doing? It's a pleasure meeting you. But I do not give every person that is referred to as a dominant or, sir, ma'am. I do not give everybody that off gate because I do not, if I don't know you or I don't know your reputation, you have earned it. Like you said to me, okay, well, what about a judge? What about a police officer?
They earn those though.
In a position. So for whether it was right or wrong, they earned that position. And I know that about
You know that because of where they're sitting. But if we are all in a setting and neither one of you knew me,
I would not walk up to you and say, hello, sir. I would not do that.
I'm just gonna say, what's your name? Flat out.
See, that's rude.
I'm not gonna say it in that way. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say it that way. I'm gonna use a polite tone of voice.
Well,
it's gonna be a conversation.
I taught you better than that now.
I'm not that rude.
Our culture, and when I say our culture, it's mixed a little bit with leather and all sorts of kind of other stuff. What they would prefer to be called, it's always on their name badge. So if you call somebody sir, it's not outright calling them disrespect. I mean, coming out being disrespectful because it's their name on their name badge. It's a lot of people will put sir in before their name. Sir Shere, Sir Mark, Madam, whatever.
Okay, that's understandable.
Because if you walk up to them and you don't know what they identify as and you read their name tag, it's basically saying, this is what
well, that's a different story.
Right. But I'm just saying, if there was no name badge and you walked into a group of people, Southern hospitality, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am, and let them correct you. Now, Daddy is a different story.
Southerner, I guess. So
yeah, you're not.
Daddy, I'm actually not either.
I know.
I'm Philly, but I'm just saying it's manner. But I was also in the military too, so.
Right, and then pause. Well, I did come to understand through a how long conversation after we've been debating this for a minute, but we had a conversation the other day. One thing I did realize is that, again, what do we say? Nothing is cookie cutter. So in the leather community, which I did not come into this in the leather community, so I do not know the standards of the leather community. In the leather community, what we were saying, when we was having a conversation about this, Lacey, when me, you, and Lady Sapphire, we were talking about it on the podcast. We aren't leather, so therefore, the way I was taught, that I'm not supposed to call any and everybody just because they're in the vicinity. Sir, man, if my dominant was okay with it,
that's fine.
Either he nodded or I knew ahead of time because it was somebody that we knew. But beyond that, I'm not obligated to call you sir. Am I going to be rude? No, but I'm not obligated.
I never said
so.
To be
in the leather community, they say
no.
I'm not.
Situation where you did not know if this person was a sir or ma'am or dad or daddy or whatever. You start out with the common two, ma'am and sir, and let them correct you.
And that is the way the leather community is taught. But on the outside of that, the way I was brought in, that's not the way that goes. The way I was brought in, you don't call anybody else sir, ma'am, any of that unless you are given permission outside of your dominant. I don't call just any and everybody. So it's somebody that he's okay, or me, because my dominant would be a male. It's someone that he's okay with or that he knows, or we have walked into, we're in a gathering or something and we know these people, or it's somebody that I know their reputation and he's okay with it, then yeah. But for me just to walk up, say we didn't know you, And I'm just, well, sir,
But that's the protocol. Yeah.
I mean,
that was protocol out of the house that I came out of.
Okay, proof.
But it's not only my house. This is something where I've been a lot of places in this community, worldwide, and there's a lot of people that felt the same way. It's that dominance call, whether or if you're in a dynamic. If you're not in a dynamic, then it's kind of if you're in a situation where that dominant has a submissive with him, you go to that submissive.
But you're under the assumption that every person you talk to is a sir or ma'am.
Well, okay, so how's that different from what you're saying? Until you know whether
because the way that you're using, the way that you were brought in, the way that you're using it, you're under the assumption that every single person is a sir or ma'am. You could be in a room full of submissives.
Exactly. So why would I address them?
But you wouldn't know that unless they told you so.
Exactly. So why am I going to come to you with the honorific?
So if you know that I was or I identified as a dominant, you know what I'm saying, and you didn't know my name, how would you start off a conversation with me?
Hello, how are you? It is nice to meet you. I'm such and such. What is your name?
Okay. We got into this conversation because someone said it was a red flag of someone forcing you to call them a certain honorific.
Okay, I was the one that made the comment, but the comment was this. I said that I do not just call anyone sir or ma'am. I do not greet them that way unless I know them. I know their reputation. I then said, because if it's not my dominant, it's just not okay. There are plenty of dominants that I know now that I call sir, and they're not my dominant. But I know their reputation. I know I've seen what they do, and they have a good reputation. My thing was, I said then, especially if it's someone, because you have a lot of these dominants out here that feel that because, I'm a dominant, you're supposed to call me sir. I said no, especially ones like that, because to me, that's a red flag.
Right. You
got to make me call you a
dominant. You are dominant. You're not my dominant. See, that's how that whole conversation started out. There's a difference between you choosing to say sir or ma'am to someone that you do not know their status versus someone who sits there and says, you must refer to me as sir.
Okay.
That's a
same difference.
Damn it, you made me curse. And twice. Back
to him and I will go. We'll go back and forth about this one.
Yeah, we're not gonna be here another 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, from a little standpoint, the reason that being called little one can be so triggering is because you can push a little into little space just by calling them little one.
Right.
And that's a no. That's an absolute no.
Or anything.
So wait a minute. So quiet one here, Mr. Hart.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? Hold on, because he has not said anything about it.
I know.
He's been listening.
There's a couple of things. Number one, when my sub or some other dealer, when they refer to me as Poppy or Daddy, then that makes me feel as good as someone calling someone that likes to be called good girl. It creates that good fuzzy feeling.
Right.
So therefore, you have to earn that right. When I walk into a room, like you said, hi, my name is Mark. I'm not going to tell you what I am. Because you don't have a right to call me anything other than my.
See, that's the way I was always taught.
See, as a get around for that, Southerners, we say if we don't know any titles or anything like that, it's Mr. or Miss.
Mm-hmm.
That's a get around for certain ma'am down here.
Yep. And it's common sense too. I mean, okay, like you said,
where I work
in the vanilla world, I'll use sir and ma'am all day. But once I come into my BDSM space, those words are not used unless I know. And I know what I know.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying the same thing that I was saying. Because where I work at, you know what I'm saying? They don't know my name until I turn around, they can read my badge. You know what I'm saying? But if I have my back towards them, it's always, excuse me, sir, can you help me? And I turn around and I address them. That's basically what I was saying. You don't know, but you know what I'm saying? Common courtesy.
No, but you missed it. He was saying what I was saying.
He said both.
In the BDSM world, it's a different thing, though, sir, because sir and ma'am takes on a whole different.
Because Yeah,
Yeah, it
submissive.
takes on a whole different.
It does take on a
meaning.
whole different meaning, but when you have to figure out what setting that you're in. You
Yeah,
understand
and
what I'm
that's the
saying?
common sense.
You were saying, your specific words was, I'm not referring to anyone as sir, unless they're my dominant. And my point was, we use sir and ma'am as a respect thing for not knowing someone's name. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, ma'am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
But what she's saying is she shuts it off when she comes into this realm.
Yeah, when I come into this room, that shuts off
When you come into this room, but how do you know?
because
It's
I know
in the
when I'm in
space.
the community versus the vanilla community.
Do you?
Yes,
Do you?
yes,
Do you? Do you
yeah.
know how many people you walk by on a daily basis and that they're in the life?
Okay, but that's what that
Yeah,
doesn't.
but
That
that's not a BDSM or kink setting. That is a casual everyday
that's
life
just like
setting.
me. That's just like what we was talking about the other day. Being in the vanilla world, and I've got my pet crawling down the street with a collar on. That's not the appropriate
Place for that
setting
because
for
nobody
that.
consented to see that.
So I mean, outside in the vanilla world, I could pass you all day long. We could be in a
So-
professional setting. I'm not gonna say hello, sir,
So-
sir, Shere. No,
So what you're saying is there's no such thing as manners.
that's not what I said at all.
You can use manners as far as like, okay, going into a kink setting, like maybe you're at an event. You don't necessarily have to say sir or ma'am if you don't see their badge or whatever. Like I said, you can make your way around that by saying Mr. or Mrs. It's just ask their name politely and get a Mr. or Mrs. You don't have to say sir or ma'am because there are many submissives and dominants that I've met that will get highly offended if you call them sir or madam because they're not your sir or madam. You didn't earn the right to, call them by that name.
Right.
And
Somebody coming up to mommy and calling them mommy, I wish you would.
it's like, okay, it takes the common sense of the person that's hearing it also. Okay, you're gonna be able to say, hey, they don't mean it by that because they're just being polite.
That is my point. Exactly. Okay, getting off topic, going back to the next one. One of the main other questions that people should ask when vetting, are you currently seeing anyone else? Are you currently considering anyone else? Are you currently intimate with anybody else? Are you married? Do you have a girlfriend?
Tell you what I think.
Because for some strange reason, those questions just seem to right out of people's heads.
Okay,
I
And
want
next
to
thing
know.
you know,
Want to
you're
know
staring
have
down
you
somebody's
been
life.
with anybody that I know?
here's the workaround. It's real simple. Are you monogamous or are you ethically non-monogamous?
See, that's a yes or no question. I don't like that one.
Yeah, that's a yes or
I
no.
don't like that one
Yeah.
because they say no, and then it'll
You
be
can
like,
say you're ethically, non-monogamous, but then what is their definition of ethically?
Okay, I'll tell you. When you ask me that question, I'll tell you point blank. I got a girlfriend. I got a wife I'm separated. I got a wife that I'm separated from. So that's what I said. I'm entangled. And if somebody asks me, I'm telling you straight up. And I'm gonna make sure you know about that one. You know about that one.
I'm not out here trying to be staring down nobody's wife
That's
after you told me.
Okay, but if they've told you, if they've told you, you can make that choice. The
Yeah.
point is,
I mean,
I
like,
believe how many people forget to ask that question, and then someone can use that as a defense. You never asked me, was I in a
I've
relationship?
seen that
You
happen.
never asked
then they
me, was
bullshit. Sorry.
We-
Sorry.
Like I've seen a little get into a dynamic with a daddy, and she forgot to ask, was he married? Next thing you know, she's staring down his wife, and she's highly angry because she didn't know that he was entangled with another little and another little. I don't know why that's easily forgotten because you're like, that should be one of the first things you want to know.
That should be as easy as breathing, honestly.
Like,
look, because I want to know about the girlfriends, how many more submissives you have, and this and that. Because y'all just don't.
I want to know any side pieces. I want to know all that
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
because side pieces are audacious these days. So I want to know too. I want to know everything.
everybody that I meet and when I tell them about my situation, the first thing I do is be like, you're more than welcome to come over at any time. I've dated. You're more than welcome to come over at any time off gate. I prefer for you to come over so I can introduce you to my wife and my living girlfriend off gate.
To put out there that I'm like, if you're a woman, if you're gonna be my mommy, and you've got like other ladies, and which mind you, I've come to the point where I don't mind, but I better be your only little.
They-
I better be your only little.
You don't want to have
I want to be able to flirt with the wife too. I want to be able to flirt with the wife too.
you don't want to have a sister?
She has one.
But
Huh?
absolutely, I have one. She's right there. I don't need another.
Thank you.
I don't need another. I'm the annoying sister in this relationship. That's my thing.
The rat coming out.
Okay.
Now,
No.
Here's an interesting story. All right. You guys know I do erotic hypnosis, right? My girlfriend is a hypnotherapist also.
Hmm.
So it gets real funky and real quick because she's like, okay. And when we met, I said, hey, I'm ethically non-monogamous. You know, I tell you these people I've played with in the past. If they call me, because I've told you I'm ethically non-monogamous, if they ask, I'm going to play. And she asked me, so what's the difference between if we were to have an erotic session and you have an erotic session with someone else? I said, and it's real simple. The difference is this. When I snap my finger and say, feel this, at that point, I'm doing EH with that person because I'm commanding you to feel that. But when I'm doing it with my girlfriend, it's feel my this, feel my that. That's the
It's
difference.
more personal.
Yeah, I'm taking it when I do EH with someone that is other than my girlfriend. Okay, you know what? This is transactional. You feel this. Remember the last time you were with your partner and they did that. Take yourself back to that room. Take yourself back to that moment, as opposed to we feel my this, feel my that. So she's finally starting to get it, but she struggles with it.
See, I'm just a little selfish in certain portions. Like, I want to be the only little. I don't care if you have like a pet or anything like that, but I want to be the only little.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my say. I'm not sharing my mommy with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't care if you have a wife. You can all that. Let me flirt with your wife while you're at it. But that's my space.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets, and it's funny because she's never seen me do a live event. And I know there's going to come a time when I do a live event and she's going to come. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That will be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
so she's like, hold on, you're driving these women to orgasms and you're
And
telling
she's
me
never seen live.
and I'm like, it's nothing to me because I'm demisexual. So because there's no emotional attachment with them, that's like me fixing a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for somebody. Boom, okay.
Right. Gotcha.
Amazing. But you know,
it takes us a minute to figure that out about men. You know, it takes us to figure that out that you can do this stuff and it's not all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah. You know, and she's seen some of my demos via Zoom. She's like, yeah, okay. Like even when I told her, you know, I might be going to North Carolina to do an event. She's like, oh really? Oh yeah? When is it? I'm like, oh
Tell me
yeah.
come on.
Yeah. And it's because she's a hypnotherapist and she's extremely responsible. I mean, she's extremely responsive, excuse me. So when I
Right.
take her through, she's like, oh, and you think it's okay to do this with other women. I was like, no, I'm not doing it with other women. I'm doing it to other women, but I'm doing it with you. That's the catchphrase.
Okay. All right. So another question would be, how long have you been in the BDSM lifestyle? And, you know, most people would be like, I've been in that lifestyle for 75 years. But, you know, you're only 24.
Right. That part.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? A good follow-up question is, what is your definition of being in the lifestyle? And what makes it a lifestyle? You know what I'm saying?
That is an awesome follow-up question because, you know, like when I spoke to when you had asked me how long I'd been in lifestyle, I've been in over 10 years, but I finally accepted who I am in this lifestyle and the way I am about 3 years ago. So yeah, most people dibble and dabble, they run to it, run from it, but to truly accept who you are, I think that's the question. How long have you accepted being a part of this lifestyle and you've truly embraced it?
Right.
Then there's very little wiggle room there. There's very little wiggle room.
Very
Well, I guess I could be one of those ones that said, I guess I jumped in and I loved it, so I stayed. Did it ever pop out? I take that back because I did take a break. I think sometimes it is pertinent to take a break from this.
It can be mentally overwhelming.
So do you count those years or no?
You still are in the lifestyle. You just took a break. But it can be very mentally overwhelming.
It can be.
So stepping back and taking a break does not mean that you left. You just did what you exactly said you did. You took a break. It's like, you work 9 months out the year and then you want to go on vacation for the last, you earned that vacation. So no problem. You still have a job when you come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the same thing.
Same thing.
That's all right. But anyway, I highly recommend this book for all of the newer folks and for people who've been in for a while and can't quite figure out what questions to ask. Read this book. It gives you questions. It gives you follow-up questions. It gives you the why question. Why is it important to you? It also gives you a breakdown of how to read the person's answer via body language. If they do this or hit you with the, if someone is genuinely trying to put the time into allowing you into their space, there is nothing wrong with them answering a few questions. There's nothing wrong with them answering a few questions.
It should never be a problem. Ever. I truly believe that. It should never be a problem. Ever.
But you can find this book on Amazon. It's ever
in. Well, why can I still have to scribble that?
Because when you click on the script,
I call it scribble.
It's script. If you click on the script app, it'll take you to Everand.
Well, now all the worksheets and everything are still on script.
Yes.
We can say scribble. It sounds cuter.
I know scribble.
It's not scribble.
It's cuter.
It's scribble.
But yeah, so yeah, it does. It takes you to Everand now.
Also takes you to Everand.
It's there because that's where I have mine. I want to say it's on Audible too because I think that's where I got it the first time.
If you subscribe to Amazon Kindle, it is available for Audible now. It is also free on Amazon Kindle.
Is it?
Yeah.
I did not know.
We love a good free book.
So why not subscribe to script? I gotta look.
Well,
I think that's where I found it the first time. No, because they took it off, but they put it back on. I think.
Exactly.
So that's why I went to script.
Yeah. So Everand actually has a lot of great resources.
Okay.
But you have to learn how to cipher through them because everything is opinion based. It's based on this one person's perspective of everything. You know what I'm saying? So don't take it at face value. Read the information, get what you can from it, what you comprehended from it, and move on. Don't try to use it as a Bible because it's not.
Right.
But
again, the name of the book is
62Q.
Right. 62 questions for you the extra dominant. We have come to almost 2 hours.
We've been talking for almost 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah. But guess what? My voice is not gone because I let y'all talk. So yay.
And
this is why I love having people on the show.
And you weren't yelling. That's why your voice is still here. You weren't yelling.
Again, just to recap, we were talking about it. This is something that's really important, really. And you find that a lot of people that's been in this for years, they still don't know how to bet. So this is definitely something that I just kind of wanted to throw out there because it's, again, what we do is volatile. And these are things you need to know. These are things you need to do to be safe. And that's what we're here for. We're here for education. And we're here to make sure that, we do what we can to help you guys be safe. So hopefully you learned something, you got something out of it. Definitely go look for the book. I will put it in the description. so that you'll have the name of it. I think I can link probably Audible and Everend in the description as well. So again, Lady Sapphire had to leave, but I do appreciate our guest, our resident dog.
Give ourselves a round of applause.
Wait. I got something. I can applaud y'all. Yay. It's not going to work. It don't like me. Lacey, how do I do that? Oh, there we go. It don't like me right. It's all right. Next time we're going to applaud y'all. Yay.
A round of applause. Everyone did an excellent job of keeping the verbiage flowing and
Yeah, it don't like me.
the questioning and asking questions.
I tried to. Was that loud, Lacey?
That was very loud.
Yeah. But again, he said, do it again.
Do it again.
Do it again. One more time. This is what we're about. This is what we're here for. So we've got our resident Twisted Dom here, Sir Shere. We've got Mr. Mark joining us, and we appreciate it. And sleepy little Lacey over there. And then I'm not putting that earring back on. It keeps falling off. I don't even care. And little Lacey over here. Yay. Thank you guys so much for being here. So, as I think at the end of every segment that we'll keep to, you can follow us. We are on Facebook. We have the group, and we also have a profile. Just look for Twisted Elegance. We are on Instagram, Twisted Elegance NC. We are on Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music. We are on YouTube, so this will shoot to YouTube tomorrow. It did not live stream to YouTube tonight. So it'll shoot to YouTube tomorrow. On YouTube, we're Twisted Elegance NC. On Spotify and all the other platforms, we are Essentially Twisted. What else are we on?
We are in the midst of releasing our Discord, and it's also Twisted Elegance NC. Some of us are already there, still working out some, kinks and bugs and stuff. But we should be up and running here very shortly, so please look out for the link for that.
Yes, so I'll start trying to post the link down in the descriptions. If you friend us on FetLife, we're on FetLife, Twisted Elegance. And you can friend us on FetLife, you can friend us on Facebook, and get the Discord link there. February, we are having Twisted second anniversary, our second birthday, also our birthdays. So yeah, we're all February babies. So we're going to have a purple and black soiree. It's called the Aquarian. Look out for the information. It's on IG. It's on our Facebook and everything. All the information is there. We'll post a link for that as well. Come out and celebrate with us and have a good time. So Shere will be presenting. We try to get Mr. Mark to come and do some of his hypnosis. And we've got a couple of others. It's going to be a good time. So we ask you guys to come out, and basically that's it. We've enjoyed it. I've had a good time. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. So we have hit almost 2 hours. We are 5 minutes shy. Okay. So again, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll be back, next week? I don't know if we're going to do live yet, so we'll let you know if we're going to do live or not. But again, thank you guys. Stay twisted and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good week.